How many times have you felt like you had to justify your choices as if your life were a courtroom and you were on trial? We smile, explain, and hope to be understood. But deep down, all we truly want is to follow our hearts in peace. Yet, there's a hidden cost behind this constant need to explain. It drains our energy, weakens our confidence, and pulls us away from what really matters: your dreams. Majesty, this constant explaining is a form of captivity. It's as if every time we justify ourselves, a piece of our intuition gets silenced. And as paradoxical as it may seem, the more we try to please and explain, the more we lose touch with who we are. We chase approval, while our soul is only asking for focus, discipline, and that sacred silence where true miracles are born. The truth is uncomfortable, but freeing. You owe no one an explanation. And the sooner you understand this, the faster your journey of self-growth and personal transformation will blossom. But take a deep breath. This is just the beginning. What comes next will open your eyes to a prison many people live in, without even realizing they're locked inside. 1. The invisible prison. There's a kind of prison with no bars, but it suffocates just the same. It's the prison of seeking other people's approval. So many women live as if they're waiting for some invisible permission to be who they are, as if their lives needed someone else's stamp of approval. The problem? When we live like that, we trade our truth for someone else's expectations. And in that trade, we always lose. We lose time, we lose energy, and most of all, we lose the connection with our intuition. It's like walking with a map, drawn by someone else's hands, following paths that make no sense to your soul. The fear of judgment becomes a distorted filter, weakening our confidence and paralyzing our actions. And the more we try to please, the further we drift from our own desires. Frustration sets in, the feeling of stagnation takes hold. And worst of all, we start believing that being less is safer than being true. But what if I told you that you don't need anyone's permission to live your truth, that you can stop explaining yourself and still be loved, respected, and, most importantly, whole? That awareness opens doors to female empowerment, to a life with focus, discipline, and more lightness. And once that awareness takes over your life, a new world begins to reveal itself. Speaking of revelation, next we'll uncover a silent thief that's been draining your energy without you even noticing. 2. The great energy thief. We start our day with 1,000 plans, but all it takes is one notification, one story, one outside opinion, and suddenly we're lost in the maze of distractions. Social media, other people's comments, the flood of information, all of it slowly chips away at our energy. And the most dangerous part? It seems harmless. A quick glance here, a small comparison there, and before we know it, we're spending more time watching people than living your dreams. There's a deeper explanation for this. In psychology, it's called emotional escape. When reality demands that we grow, our mind tries to protect us by seeking refuge in distractions. It's like we unconsciously choose to numb ourselves with other people's content, rather than face our own next steps. But Majesty, this comes at too high a cost. Every time you compare yourself, you're telling yourself you're not enough. And that kills your confidence at the root. Want to see how this plays out in your daily life? You feel anxious, disconnected, unfocused. You start procrastinating, doubting yourself, feeling like you're falling behind. But that's not who you are. It's the effect of constant comparison. That's why we need to protect your energy with the same urgency we protect what is sacred, because it is sacred. And when we begin to silence the external noise, something powerful starts to rise. And that's what we're going to talk about next. The power of silence. 3. The silence that builds. There's a subtle power that few people recognize, yet it changes everything. Silence. Neuroscience has already shown that when we talk about our plans, the brain gets a false sense of accomplishment, as if simply speaking them out loud makes them real. But this can sabotage action. That's why, more often than not, the best strategy is to stay quiet, move in silence, act without announcing. Because what is still in gestation needs protection, just like a baby in the womb. In the realm of spirituality, silence is sacred ground. It's in silence that we hear our soul refine our vision and nurture our essence. When we're quiet, we come into communion with what truly matters: your dreams, self-growth, personal transformation. And it's in that space that magic happens. The world's noise might be loud, but nothing beats the energy of a woman in silence, focused, patient, and aligned with her truth. Practicing silence is like shielding your energy. It's saying, I trust myself so deeply that I don't need to prove anything to anyone. That's female empowerment in its purest form. So, if you're wondering where to start by stopping the announcements. Be like the new moon, quiet but full of potential. And when the time is right, you'll shine, without needing to explain. And speaking of trust, it's time to dive into building that invisible yet essential force. 4. Self-confidence is built. Many women believe they need to feel confident before taking action, but that belief is a mental trap. The truth is, confidence doesn't just appear, it's built. Like a muscle, it strengthens through repetition, through daily actions, even when fear is shouting. It's in the moment you choose to act, despite your doubts, that something inside you begins to bloom. Picture yourself on a narrow bridge between insecurity and expansion. Every step you take, even trembling, makes that bridge stronger. That's what we call self-growth. And it doesn't have to be anything grand. Start with a no you've always wanted to say, a project you've been dreaming of starting, a habit you've been meaning to break. The key is to validate yourself through your actions, not through others' opinions. Stop people-pleasing, start pleasing yourself. Is it challenging? Absolutely. But it's also profoundly liberating. Because once you become your own source of validation, no one can destabilize you again. You stop living under judgment and start living with purpose. Confidence isn't about not feeling fear. It's about choosing to keep going despite it. And that, Majesty, is a power no approval in the world can give you. Now imagine that power combined with 2 even more transformative forces. 5. The magic formula. Some days, motivation just doesn't show up. And do you know what that means? Nothing. Because motivation is fleeting, but discipline is a daily choice. It's what you do when no one's watching, when excitement disappears, when everything feels too slow. Discipline is that steady friend who grabs your hand and says, do it anyway. And she's the one who turns small habits into extraordinary results. Now, combine that with patience, and you've got an almost magical formula. Because in the fast-paced world we live in, where everything needs to be instant, waiting has become a rare art. But every real transformation starts out invisible. Just like a seed growing silently underground, no fanfare, no show. You water it, trust, and wait. And one day, without warning, it blooms. That's exactly how personal transformation works. Want an example? Write every day, even if it's just 3 lines. Meditate for 5 minutes, even with a restless mind. Walk, even when you don't feel like it. Do what needs to be done with love, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because it is, inside. And that internal shift prepares the ground for something even more magnificent, a reality shaped by your focus. And that's what we'll dive into next. 6. Your focus shapes your life. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. It filters everything we experience and shows us only what we deem important. In other words, what you focus on expands. If you're constantly focused on problems, that's all you'll see. But if you begin directing your attention to solutions, opportunities, and signs, your reality starts to shift. It may feel like magic, but it's neuroscience. And yes, it's trainable. Focus is the bridge between dreaming and doing. What you feed your energy grows. What you scatter it on weakens. That's why you need to ask yourself, what's been occupying my thoughts? Am I nurturing what helps me grow or what holds me back? Often, distraction isn't just external, it's internal. Repetitive thoughts, self-criticism, comparisons, all of it distances you from your dreams and drains your life force. Create spaces that remind you of the woman you are becoming. Physically, shift your routine, be intentional about what you consume, and surround yourself with high-vibe people. Internally, meditate, write, quiet the chaos. Don't wait to feel 100% ready. Start to become. Discipline, focus, and confidence aren't born perfect. They're cultivated. And when that energy is anchored within you, you don't just live, you thrive. And now, Majesty, it's time to seal this journey with the most powerful truth of all. The truth is simple, yet transformative. You're either feeding your expansion or reinforcing your limitations. There is no middle ground when it comes to energy. And yours, Majesty, is sacred. So protect your energy like you're guarding a divine garden within. No more justifying, no more asking for permission to exist. Stop explaining yourself. Your life is not an apology. It's a declaration of power. So look in the mirror and say, I choose focus, I choose discipline, I choose my dreams. Let every choice you make be a love letter to the woman you are becoming. And if this message touched your heart, share it. Other women need to remember that they owe no one anything. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with us on this journey of self-growth and personal transformation.